What's up? This is Rebel Radio.
What up? What up? This is DJ Newmark.
This is Peanut Butter Wolf.
It's your boy. It's okay.
Keep checking out Rebel Radio.
Rebel Radio.
This is Rebel Radio.
We're in the place right here. Rebel Radio is going down.
Would you say Rebel Radio?
Oh, wait. Let's do it again.
Rebel Radio.
Hey, what's up, Rebels? Welcome back to Rebel Radio, the show where every week we talk to the rebels who are shaping youth culture. We find out why they do it, how they do it, and what you can do to get a little piece of the pie for yourself. We're also the only show that features new music every week from the homies over at EDM.com. Hey, this week I'm coming to you as I speak. I'm looking out of my hotel room over the Hong Kong harbor. It's amazing out there. I'm in the middle of a 3-week trip. I've been in Tokyo, Beijing, Taiwan, Hong Kong. I can't wait to get home next week and share some interviews that I recorded in Beijing with people that are running the nightlife, the music and art scenes in that city. Some really cool stuff to share with you when I get back. But this week we have one of the smartest interviews I've done in a while. This guy was amazing. Brent Bushnell is my guest today. Brent is the founder of 2-Bit Circus, which is building micro amusement parks. They're about to launch their first one in Los Angeles in January. And he's really reinventing family entertainment using VR and other technology combined with, the old familiar, entertainment of our childhood and before. He's going to talk about his journey into the family business. He's got a really famous father who was an innovator in family entertainment. I'll let you find out about that for yourself if you're not familiar with Brent and his story. He gives us some simple but powerful techniques for hiring people with passion and talks about the company that he's building that's going to change the face of what your kids are doing. Really good stuff coming up this week on Rebel Radio, right after our EDM.com track of the week.
Cause I'm locked up cause he did it for dinero. Yeah. Go and get it, Papa say you signed with the devil, whole lot. Lot of things change, really hard to do it for the love when it's pain. Lot of people say what they want like they yay, but the two hype kids really need to go and play.
That was Majid with a track called Primero, your EDM.com track of the week. Get over to EDM.com, check out new music, and check out Brent Bushnell here on Rebel Radio.
I'll tell you everything that you know, I'll expose you. Yeah. Watch what you say, young boy.
Toxic Brew for the Evil Queen and Jack.
That's funny.
So good.
That one seems harder to remember.
Yeah, it is a little harder.
Yeah. Cool, man. Well, thanks for doing this.
Oh, dude, so happy to be here. Thanks for coming.
And I appreciate you having us in this incredible
cool. Wonderful. It's did I tell you a little bit of the story of this? It's
Please
a big old power plant. So built in 1903, Edison Electric Company. There's photos of this place literally with nothing for miles, and the 5 is basically a footpath.
Wow.
So it's really fun.
That's so cool.
This building scene a lot.
Yeah, I bet. I bet. That's awesome. So I always like to get into, how people got started and where you came from. I'm guessing, all my usual questions kind of go out the window because I'm guessing you had a really unique childhood.
It was definitely a lot of fun.
Yeah.
It was my dad's a big nerd, and so he really raised us as nerds, and introduced us to Dungeons and Dragons really early,
right.
and introduced us to the internet when there was like literally 100 computers on it. I mean, I'll never forget sitting there looking at Mosaic, that early web browser, and he was like, "Hey, this is the internet, Brent. Like, check it out." And I stayed there, and I read the help menu for a little while, and I was like, "Just what am I even looking at?" And it was also funny. He trained us to program really early, and we sat there all afternoon. And by the time we were done, a little white dot moved across the screen, and I was like, "Dad, I don't think this is for me." This is like punishing, But it was.
That's funny. Yeah. So I'll tell you, when I was 10, I went to Camp Calabasas.
Oh yeah.
For summer. It was like a day camp. And this was like a big deal that this is the first year they had a computer track. So you could opt in for 9 to 12 was computers. and 12 to 3 was, swimming and doing all the regular camp shit. And so I did that, and we were on Atari 800s. They had 800s and 400s in the room, and the 400, I'm sure you remember, like the 400 had the, not virtual keypad, but like they weren't like raised keys.
Yep.
And we'd sit there all day.
Awesome.
Making the screen change colors, like writing these really primitive scripts.
Well, in the early days, people were asking him, as people were plugging this stuff into their TVs, they were like, how do you get the TV station to change like that, And it was a concept that you could plug something into your TV and it would locally create that sort of, those visuals was really an anathema, Yeah.
Were you a gamer as a kid, I imagine?
Totally. Oh my God, we loved video games, and not just video games, board games, card games. We as a family played tons of games, lots of that stuff. Dad's always been obsessed with games, and so we were, always exploring a lot of the new stuff. And as a result, played very little Atari. Interestingly enough.
Is that right?
Yeah, because he was always bringing home the latest stuff.
Right.
So we'd have, why are we going to play the old stuff when the brand new Nintendo is here and the crazy hard to get a hold of, Japanese Famicom and all these different things? We were like, okay, Atari, whatever. It was really fun to have all the new stuff.
Well, the rest of us were excited when the new Atari stuff came out. What was it? Was there a favorite game? Was there like the one game that was all about?
We as a family actually have this one game that we all just play a ton of and we're super competitive around. It's called Pengo. Pengo. Most people have never even heard of it, and it's a little bit like Pac-Man, but you can reconfigure the walls, and it's just, if for some reason it just really got under our skin, and we used to have family tournaments and that kind of stuff. So that was a big game. A bunch of my brothers and Dad all got obsessed with Magic the Gathering. So we played that a lot when it first launched, building out all our own decks. We got so obsessed with it, we actually made our own version, a sci-fi version. Magic the Gathering was very sort of fantasy. We also really liked sci-fi and space and whatnot, so we made a sort of interplanetary version of that we called Worlds. And we actually licensed it to Topps baseball cards. My brother Tyler and I missed tons of school, and went to Kinko's, printing out our own cards to make delivery deadlines and really had a ball, both playing games but also building our own.
That sounds like a lot of fun. Fun way to grow up, I'm sure. I was listening to a podcast with your dad. I think it was How I Built This.
Oh yeah.
Recently, and just a fascinating story. I particularly loved he described launching Chuck E. Cheese. And how we're kind of what he said is we're making all these games, but now we get to build a place where people go to play the games.
It was literally a go-to-market strategy for the games. Think like Michelin guides to sell more Michelin tires, right? And so for them, at the time, arcades were seedy places. And so if you were Atari, you could get, you can get games in front of 16 and 17-year-olds, 15-year-olds, but, for a 6-year-old, that was not a place a family was going to go. And so Atari Labs, which was really a prolific part of Atari in terms of just throwing a lot of stuff against the wall, a lot of churn, a lot of experimentation, was literally in a separate building from Atari. Atari was down in the valley, and Atari Labs was up in Grass Valley, Northern California. And so that creative environment had all sorts of interesting stuff come out of it, including a freaking internet. Right? They were working on their own dial-up modems to share scores and stuff. But one of the things was this restaurant. And Dad sells Atari to Warner, and they, at the time, they knew how to sell, records, and the concept of sort of plastic with information on it that could be replaced in the home made a lot of sense. Same kind of thing. So the cartridges made sense, but they were like, well, this restaurant, we don't really get it. So Dad ended up buying that and running it, turning it into Chuck E. Cheese, and it was that safe, family-friendly place that was a go-to-market strategy for the games, but then also became its own right.
Sure. So were you in the family business from as a kid? Was that was that your path?
Well, so Dad raised us with kind of one foot in engineering and one foot in entrepreneurship, and he was always very clear with us from a very young age. He was like, "Listen, I'm not going to give you any money. You're going to do this on your own." I've watched what happens to kids who are given a lot of things and don't have hardship. Like he was a self-made man, grew up in Utah. His dad died really young, and so he worked really hard from a very young age, and he expected that of us. And so he would twist our toes in the morning to get us out of bed to go weed the garden, and was always sort of pushing us to do stuff. Hey, go sell stuff at the bottom of the driveway. Go sell stuff at the we sold mistletoe wrapped in red ribbon at Christmas. We made our own jewelry and sold out in front of the supermarket. I sold candy bars for my baseball team. Sold magazine subscription sales. Like we were always out there pushing stuff. And so he would. I have 7 siblings, which is a lot of kids, right? And so, that his parental attention sort of distributed across 7, you might think, did we get any time at all?
Sure.
And the one thing that was really powerful was he would take us one-on-one on trips. And so he would take us to business meetings, and he would take us, and this was this very special time with Dad to go and one-on-one travel with him wherever he was going. But you would not only get this sort of one-on-one time with him, but you would also go into the meeting, and he'd be like, okay, you're not going to say anything, but here's what's about to happen, and here's what I expect to get out of it, and then we'd have the breakdown after the meeting. Here's what happened, and so it was really wonderful to be there on the ground, a part of it, both getting to spend time with Dad, but also getting a real window behind the scenes of what business was like and what that meant. And so we spent time playing games and going exploring new stuff, and we spent time building business and working on our own stuff.
Is there a central lesson you think you learned from that approach to parenting?
A few. One that, really pushing your kids to develop that grit, right? Dad used to always say, Mom is always going to protect you from the world, and I'm going to give you doses of how hard it can be, and it's going to be little pieces, but Dad was sort of the bearer of bad news, and Mom was always going to be sort of the good news. But he was, it wasn't mean or malicious. It was very much like, hey, the world's hard and you guys better shape up, and he used to call us hothouse plants, and that was such a derogatory term to be hothouse plants, so we never wanted to be that. But he would really, push us. So I think that was really important, pushing us to work all the time, really, effort tracking with reward. Like, hey, you did a thing, great. Here's an allowance for having done that specific thing. Here's a hard challenge to go after, and here's how you can do it. I was a terrible baseball player, but sold candy bars for my baseball team, and he was like, okay, if you're going to do this, what's your lingo? How are you going to go out and approach somebody at the supermarket? You need to have a quick button down thing you're going to say, and so he really coached us on how to go and do it, and then would turn us loose. And so in terms of sort of early business formation, something he's always been really serious and strict about is go out and do something today. Don't just think about what it could be. Try something now, right this minute. If you have an idea for a business, it's not enough to just sort of think about it abstractly. What's the smallest, easiest version that you could demonstrate there's an appetite for and prove it today? Don't even build the thing. Build the marketing materials for the thing and see if you can sell it. And if you can sell it, then you can go and build it. But not until you have really engaged is it worth spending your time on.
Sure.
And and so I think that was always a big thing.
So when have you used that?
All the time since then, we try, and even all of 2-Bit Circus has been very much about rapid prototyping and coming up with something, building it as fast as possible. And my co-founder Eric will talk about something in the morning and have a working version in the afternoon, and as soon as possible, putting it in front of either our staff or the public or something to be able to figure out what works and what doesn't. And the times when we have not done that and have just gotten super excited about something and taken a ton of time to build it, only to put it in front of people and they are like, what is this? Has been the disasters, right? The stuff where we put it in front of people and saw, wow, our premise was wrong. This other thing, the debug mode is super cool. Whatever we were building was a waste of time, but this other thing is super neat. And we've just time and again learned that rapid iteration is invaluable.
Yeah. So given that environment and that upbringing, was there an aha moment when you realized this is my path? When did it kind of officially start for you? Was there something that triggered that?
It was really collaborating with my co-founder Eric, because I would say that because of Dad's approach of, you're going to do this on your own, we all left the nest like, hey, we're really going to do it on our own. Like, I'm not even going to go into games and entertainment. That's Dad's thing. And so, I worked in fiber optics and DNA synthesis and auto salvage and, ERP systems and all this other stuff, and really cast a wide net on sort of what it was I was going to work on. And it was really only when Eric and I started collaborating. At first, we were just making interactive art for fun that we would take to parties, and then the art turned into games. And all of a sudden, I was like, "Oh my God, what the hell have I been doing? I know so much about games. I love this space so much. Like, why am I not working in this?" Yeah. But it took sort of, kind of a 15-year path to figure out like, hey, it's okay to still work in that stuff. Like I sort of had successes elsewhere and was able to come back in and enjoy it.
Yeah, sure. And what was the first hit? Like so you say like, all of a sudden like this is working. What was that? It wasn't a hit, but it was something that was, really a ton of fun. Have you done an escape room? Have you heard about those? Okay. Yeah, so we got obsessed with this category of entertainment in like 2010 maybe. Okay. And so it didn't even really have a term yet. Escape rooms weren't a thing, but we wanted a live action adventure where we were the character, right? More like Michael Douglas in The Game than controlling a video game with your thumbs. We wanted to be the character. And what happens when you are the character is you have to use all your faculties, not just your hand-eye coordination controlling a video game, but you might need to be flexible. You might need to know, about Chinese history. You might need to know a bunch of different things. And so we made a spy adventure that overlaid on top of this whole complex that we're in right now. And over the course of it, you had to get across a room of laser beams. You had to do a game of observation with this huge gigapixel image. You had to drive really fast in a driving simulator. Yeah. We had our girlfriends at the time. We filmed them as these Charlie's Angels, spy people, because you were basically trying out to be a part of their spy club. Cool. And so it was video production. It was game design. It was experience design. It sort of touched a lot of domains. And as a part of that, we were working with a seamstress and a video game designer and a mechanical engineer, and we were doing all the infrastructure. And so here was this thing that there was no template for. We were just sort of building this, connecting as many different parts as we could, and it was super labor intensive, really low throughput, all sorts of reasons why this shouldn't work as a business, but it was a ton of fun. And so that was for me an early moment where it was like, wow, this could be a thing. And we, on the back of that, I actually went out to try to raise money. It was the first time I was trying to raise money, and it was all but sort of like laughed out of the room. Location-based entertainment. What are you talking about? Like we investors, we invest in the internet. Right. And so and they were right. We weren't ready to take money or turn that into a huge business, but that space, the kernel of that, has been something that we've sort of danced with ever since, for going on 10 years. And now with our micro amusement park, it's really the culmination of so many projects, including that one. Yeah. And we are finally ready, and I think at the same time that the appetite from consumers is ready. They want immersive entertainment, and so I'm really quite excited about that. Yeah, so can you talk about the amusement park?
Sure.
How much can you tell us?
Well, so we, as a company, Eric and I knew we wanted to play with new technology and immersive entertainment, public attractions, but not enough that we knew how it was going to monetize in the beginning. And so we just did a lot of consulting worked with brands building attractions to help Samsung tell their story about Gear VR, and Dave & Buster's do stuff, new kinds of attractions in their places, and Warner Brothers and whatever. So we did lots of those kinds of attractions, and we were building that stuff to put them inside of CES and Comic-Con and South by Southwest. And that was all really fun and interesting, and we build the thing and we install it and we run it for all the week of South by Southwest. But there was always this frustration where we've set this thing up, we've built it for 6 months, we install it for the week, and then when the conference is over, where does that thing go, right? It takes physical space. It's now going to have to go to a warehouse, or worse, in the trash. Right. And so that was always a frustration for us. And so this amusement park, this what we call a micro amusement park, because it's small for an amusement park, but huge for a retail complex. I mean, this thing's 50,000 square feet. Oh, wow. We're putting right in the middle of downtown LA, and it's really a place for those kinds of attractions, that immersive entertainment that doesn't have a home somewhere else. And when I think about entertainment, there is passive entertainment, movies and theater and books, and there's interactive entertainment. You know, video games is maybe the one we're the most close to, but immersive theater is a domain that's really growing. Virtual reality is getting really interesting. Augmented reality is coming. Escape rooms are another great example of immersive entertainment. And all of that whole category for me, sits inside of this other, this interactive entertainment, this immersive entertainment that requires more than just your ability to use your thumbs. And so this is a platform for that stuff. Yeah. So we open early next year, and we're hard at work. You can probably hear the grinding and welding going on behind us. So hopefully it doesn't screw the audio quality. But there's so much stuff getting built right now, and we're building a lot of it. We're also working with a bunch of partners to showcase stuff, and LA is a template that we're going to take all over the place.
That's exciting. I mean, it's exciting because everything. Most of what you hear about is digital, right? Is obviously video games exploded, the internet. Now, we've seen these companies, come out of nowhere and now reach 1 billion people. And so, every time I'm meeting with marketers or with media people, it's always about scale.
Yep.
And a lot of them have heard me say that I think that focus is a mistake.
I love that you say that.
Yeah, they don't like it.
You're right.
But I don't care, right?
Yeah.
But there's this assumption that anything you build needs to be, at such a huge global scale.
Yep.
And I think there's that misses something.
I completely agree. And I have sort of two thoughts around that. One is, content radiates out from live.
Sure.
And so live experience might be the least scalable one, but it's the things that happen while you're physically there, and then you share it on your Instagram and whatever. There's this concept 1990. There's the 1% that might be able to be there and be a part of the action, and then there's 9% that follow that 1% and really care about all the things that they're saying and doing, and then a 90% that's the sort of general consumer that are going to be peripherally aware of the thing. But that sort of radiation is really, really interesting.
I love that.
And then the other piece is, that scale, we need to sort of moderate that scale conversation with the amount of immersion. Great, I can put up a banner ad and touch 5 billion people for a femtosecond, right? You have your attention for, it's so short. It's not going to change much of your life trajectory.
Right.
But an entire day, 10 hours inside of Disneyland, being able to have read Harry Potter and then go to Harry Potter World and just be surrounded by that IP and drink butterbeer and wear the cape and walk down Diagon Alley. That's immersion, and that is a memory that you can, that will be permanent in your brain, of that time with your family and that time you were Harry Potter. That's so much more permanent than that banner ad. Yeah, sure, the banner ad's super scalable, but that immersive thing will be absolutely indelible in your mind for life.
No, I love it. I love it, and I love, you're sort of bridging generations, right? When we think of circus, we think of, Barnum and Bailey. We think of carnivals, we think of Boardwalk Empire days, right?
Grungy, that sort of old carny.
For sure. And yet, what you're building is very technology driven. It's very forward thinking, and I think that's, it's a fascinating idea, of there's pieces of the culture of our past that need to be, that still have value for people. Right, and how do we integrate that into a modern experience?
But, people are aware of circus and carnival. Maybe younger kids have never been to one, right? Barnum and Bailey's closing down, and but they still exist in media, and people sort of have this peripheral awareness of it. And if you think about circus over the ages, it's been about a showcase and celebration of human capacity. And in the early days, it was horse shows, and wow, look at how well we can, perform on top of these horses. And then it was, hey, look at how much we can control animals, wild animals. I can put my head inside this lion's mouth. I can get this elephant to dance around. This was sort of the height of our capability.
Sure.
And then, Cirque du Soleil said, hey, this whole animal rights thing is important. Like maybe this whole animal stuff is not the good idea. But humans are amazing, and look at how flexible they are, and how strong they are, and how much the incredible capacity of humans, and they turn that into a beautiful show.
Yeah.
And we have that same feeling and ethos, right? Humans are incredible, and now we are augmented by all this amazing technology. What sort of new 3 rings can we showcase all the cool things that are happening out there, and be a venue for that futuristic entertainment, be a place that you can do it. I don't know if you ever read Night Circus, but
no.
I just love this book, and they have all these little tents that you wander around into with all these just absolutely magical experiences. People want that whimsy, that mystery, and a way to get hands-on with all this new magical stuff in a way that's not Best Buy, frankly. You know, I mean, there's a fun way to showcase this stuff, and ideally it'd be with your friends and family, and you get to have food and beverage around it, and
absolutely,
make a real experience.
So, what kind of company does it take to build that future? Like, how do you think about the company culture?
Yeah.
And how would you describe the culture here?
It's a wild thing, because I think you talk to entrepreneurs, and oftentimes people will say, hey, they were lucky, and I feel that way. We were wrong for a long time. We built a whole GPS-enabled smartphone game long before Pokemon Go, and it didn't work. We built that escape room thing long before escape rooms, and it didn't work. And we, so almost like a broken watch. We've just sort of always thought immersive entertainment was awesome, and all of a sudden our timing was right. But I really feel like, I couldn't describe the path to create 2-Bit. It found us, and our timing was right, and we just sort of did the thing that we were passionate about until it worked. And so it's a little disingenuous to have like a clear pathway, because we really were lucky. But I think the thing that entrepreneurs do is sort of create their own luck, right? It's a lot about like your times at bat. How many times do you keep doing it? And you failed 99 times, and you just keep doing it until something works. You don't know which are the ones that are going to work. And you ask any movie executives, like, why'd you spend all that money on that movie that failed? They don't know which ones are going to fail, right? They're going to throw a lot against the wall, and then hopefully one of them is going to work. And so, I feel like that's very much at the root of this. And so, for us, we. I'm so thankful that we finally found some things that really have worked, and so that's been really exciting. And so I think in our culture, that as we talked about before, experimentation and trying lots of stuff has been very paramount. We like to play. I like to think of us as a playful company, and one that embraces whimsy and a little bit of ridiculousness, and so that permeates. We actually just had our Halloween fashion show yesterday. And we had all sorts of cool stuff. There was a prize for most innovative cardboard thing, and 5 of them built these cardboard cartridges, Nintendo cartridges, and they were the cartridge family. But there was just such wonderful creativity, and we made sure to take a half a day to celebrate Halloween and enjoy that stuff. And so I think all that stuff is definitely part of our corporate culture.
So you have, I think, a pretty big vision, and you seem like an impassioned leader, right? How do you decide when to drive that and when to kind of give people the reins?
Yeah, that's such a hard question to answer, and I think that every company has to wrestle with this, in that the things that make for creativity and innovation are almost completely diametrically opposed to structure and process, and the things that sort of allow for big scale. And the ones that go too far in one direction, fail. And so if you are too structured and processed, you have a hard time innovating. If you're too creativity and innovative, you have a hard time scaling and staying around. And so that balance is constantly a difficult one. I would say for me, I really love finding at the very beginning of a company, when there's just a handful of people, you have all the hats on. All the different hats, from accounting to legal to business development to product and everything.
Yeah.
And one thing I just absolutely love is finding someone that I can give one of those hats to that does it better than me. And the day we brought on a controller, I was ecstatic, because I'm terrible at that,
Sure.
And so this is something that was like incredible to now have someone who has done that and loves it and is great at it. To be able to empower them to do what they're great at. And so I think for us, as we've grown, to be able to bring on people who do that work and can bring that process, but still have some of that 2-bit ethos has been important. A big question for us in the interview process is, what do you do on the weekends? What are you passionate about? And there's this wonderful phrase I heard called uncorrelated characteristics.
Okay.
And so we're always looking for people who, hey, you might be one of the most incredible controllers day to day,
Sure.
but you also are just awesome at fly fishing, or you love to write poetry, or you are an incredible car maker, mechanic on the side. Whatever it is, demonstration of passion in something, right? Oh my God, you're ranked. Eric's literally a world ranking whistler. You wouldn't know that if you in the first time. But he's also a freaking incredible roboticist.
Yeah.
But uncorrelated characteristics demonstrate a passion for something, right? If you have the capacity for passion in anything, maybe you could bring a slice of that to here. But then also, uncorrelated characteristics says you have your feet in multiple domains, and creativity really comes from the intersection of domains, and oftentimes the more that you can have people that have a broad background and have touched lots of different things, they have a lot of sort of creative fodder. There's a lot of capacity for stuff that they can draw on when it comes time to do something creative. So a couple of ideas.
Can you think of somebody that you hired, or that was qualified, but that you saw that the culture fit wasn't going to be there?
Definitely. And I think that's, especially as you grow as a company and there's more people to talk to, more people to interact with, no matter what role you're in, your capacity to interact with people is very important. And I think this is something that our school system really doesn't do a great job of, is that, we might do really wonderfully on getting you to a score for your ACTs and your SATs and your, whatever, but that EQ, your emotional quotient of being able to empathize with someone and convey a message to them is very important. And we have met people who are off the charts brilliant and crush all of those tests, and their IQ is tremendous and their EQ is terrible. And so the challenge becomes, hey, great, you can do this job, you can do the technical, the quantitative part of this job you can knock out of the park. The qualitative part, the part that allows you to interact with everybody else in this company and maybe our customers and whatever, all those other pieces, if those aren't there too, it's not going to work,
So is it hard to resist the temptation to hire those people anyway because you need a job done and they can do it?
Totally. And sometimes if you can come up with a structure that insulates them, or you can hand wring and figure out ways to pull it off. But for the most part, looking for folks that can hit both those is really important.
So what you're doing is not easy. This is a big hill to climb.
Tell me about it.
Yeah, I'm sure I'm not breaking any news to you. I'm sorry if I burst your bubble.
Oh no! Wait, are you serious? Shit! I gotta get.
That's my pep talk. I'm a motivational speaker.
On the side. It's good.
I know that. Have there been times when you've questioned the mission?
Man, we did so. I mentioned we'd done a lot of consulting for a long time, and then we said, hey, we don't want to just be a consultancy, we want to make our own IP, we want to go direct to consumer, and our first big test of that was this huge carnival. We had a huge traveling carnival.
Right. Steam Carnival.
Yeah. We launched it on Kickstarter, and oh my God, the first sort of validation that people wanted this happened, right? We got a ton of visibility. We were in Time and USA Today and on the Discovery Channel, and oh my gosh, yes. And we did 2 of them. We did one in LA and we did one in San Francisco. And it took a year of planning and fundraising and sponsorship and partner relations and all of this stuff, and we built all the things and we set it up for 10 days, and then we operated it for 3 days, over that weekend. And it was absolutely exhausting. And so on the one side, there was all of this excitement and we were sold out every day and all this media coverage and people loved it. And on the other side, it literally took the company 30 days to recover.
Yeah.
Like we literally all practically died, and this place was a morgue for a month. And that's not sustainable. And by the end of the second, we went into the second one thinking, we're gonna tour this across the country, oh my God, it's gonna be amazing. And we left the second one being like, no, like we're gonna die if we do it again. We can't do this again. Yeah. And that was really heartbreaking.
Yeah,
I
huge.
actually, the day we made that decision, I cried because I had poured so much of my life energy into this thing, and the whole team had poured their life energy into it. I'd been out there yelling from the rooftops how amazing it would be, and had talked to every single person I could, and had spoken with brands and partners and media and everything, and it just had sold this vision. And you get to you believe it, right? You as the entrepreneur have to believe it first before you can sell partners, before you can sell employees, before you can sell anybody, and to come back from that and be like, no, it's not the right format, and to really embrace that and realize it and then figure out how to reposition was like absolutely crushing. And
what did you rely on to pull you through that?
To get out of it? I've got a great board of advisors, which I think everybody on the planet should have. Yeah. And we maybe another term is just mentors. Yeah. But I think everybody should have a group of people that they feel like they can turn to talk, ask for advice and as a sounding board, and ideally the more diverse that group is, the better. They come from all walks of life, and so I made sure to so I had a lot of conversations with those folks.
Was there one nugget of wisdom that stands out?
Thinking back to it, I think that really, thinking about what would scale look like, we were really, we had sort of convinced ourselves that we had a scalable thing, and it wasn't yet, so really figuring out what that was. Travel. I really love taking time to go and get creative inspiration just from seeing the world and what else is going on, and so those two things were super important, and I'm really thankful for that whole process. We learned a ton, and the carnival was a wonderful test. Beautifully, it lives on. We actually merged the whole program with a nonprofit. They became the 2-Bit Circus Foundation, and as a for-profit, we threw 2 carnivals. Since then, they've thrown 6 or 7. The second, the last one just happened in Dallas a week ago. Nice. And the format has found its place and is now a complete replacement for the science fair. Right. Kids get to learn STEM and STEAM, building their own games, and then learn business throwing their own carnival. So it's more exciting than a science fair, awesome. And it's great, And so out of this one thing, 2 things happened. That nonprofit is now running, and our amusement park is happening. So on the balance, thank God. I'm so grateful that we went through that process. Yeah. Freaking was terrible at the time. Totally sucked. But it really, that scar tissue and that experience never could have happened otherwise. And I think going back to what we talked about earlier, we didn't go into this saying we're going to build an amusement park, right? We went into it building a carnival, and out of it, and that learning landed us where we are. And so back to the early recommendation from my dad around just like get out there, try something immediately. You learn so much from having engaged that it really sets you on your path. In fact, one of my easiest, best, favorite examples of this is the game Bop It, the toy Bop It. That toy designer, awesome guy up in San Francisco, set out to make a more fun remote control for his TV. And nobody cared, nobody wanted it, and after a little while he was like, actually, what if this was just a toy? But it took countless rejection for this remote control idea before it was landed as a toy, and then became super successful toy,
So what is the thing, I'm sure there must have been a lot, but as you launch now the amusement business, right? How do you not kill yourselves? Like, what'd you take from that last thing? That how do you approach this one differently?
Oh boy, I don't actually know if I've solved that one yet. I will say, I got married this year, which has been great.
Nice.
And the time that I have with my wife is such sacred, restorative time. I find, and so that has been that's definitely been helpful. I think for the team, we have more structure than we've ever had before, and that structure comes with timelines and much more clarity than we had before. When we were building the carnival, nobody knew what a steam carnival was, including us, right? We were just pulling it all together, and so we were through brute force and our bodies, in the breach, able to build the thing, and I think we've brought on enough people with experience building attractions and building amusement parks that we have a little more visibility into the process and can be a little more thoughtful, right? Work smart, not hard, and so that's been helpful. But I will say we haven't figured it out. Sure. Like, it's still absolutely a total slog. And I was here this weekend. This last weekend, I'll be here this weekend, and it definitely is a work in progress. Yeah, it's one of those things that. There's things like riding a bike that you just learn once and you never forget. And then there's things like going to the gym and eating healthy that are just an active practice. You have to learn over and over. For sure, this is one of those you have to learn over and over.
Sure. Yeah, absolutely. But I think it forces you into a different frame of mind, right? Because once you open, you stay open. Right?
Yeah.
You got to operate the day after and the day after, and
and I really can't wait for that, because I feel right now so sort of untethered from the metrics of staying open and seeing what works and what doesn't work, and are we did people respond to that campaign or not respond? Like, is it working or not? And while we've been building the park and all the stuff inside it, we've been really untethered from that connectivity, and I love that connectivity. And so I really am ecstatic to get open.
So I know you've done a lot of work with brands, and we've seen, like, when we think of amusement parks, we think of Disney, we think of Harry Potter World.
Yep.
Right? They're very IP driven.
Yep. Many of them, if we want to nerd out on it, there's a difference between a theme park and an amusement park. And a theme park, you described Disneyland, Universal Studios, very IP driven, themed. Amusement parks oftentimes can be the more...
So like Six Flags.
Six Flags, a great example. Now, those are all adding more theming, and we will have theming in ours as well. We sort of started with micro amusement park to sort of set expectation lower. Mm-hmm. I would love to aspirationally get to micro theme park. Mm-hmm. We're not there yet. Got it. But there hasn't been a new amusement park, new theme park built in America in 20 years. Yeah. I mean, there's huge, right? Acres and acres of space. Sure. And so for us, micro was not an accidental addition, right? This is something, it's small for an amusement park, but still huge for a retail complex. So this could be a new anchor tenant for a mall. Yeah. But we feel like this size is right to be able to put into every major metro in the U.S.
So I was wondering, what is it, like, brands are struggling to capture people's attention. Yeah. Right? And you go talk to any brand, and the themes of storytelling come up, and engagement.
Yeah, immersive, experiential, all of these buzz terms, yeah.
And so, what do brands not know that they need to know about that?
I think that, at the end of the day, we like story, we relate to story, we have for millennia. And to have that authentic bond, memories are made more permanent the more of your senses that are involved. Not only that, if you can tie some emotion there, even more permanent. And what's a brand looking for, right? They want to be lodged in your brain. They want to be lodged in your consciousness, so that the time that you go to buy shoes, you're buying one over the other. By the time you go to buy napkins, you're buying one over the other. And so they're looking to be implanted in your brain. And so the thing that's so powerful about immersion over the banner ad is that's much more likely to be lodged in your brain. So the more senses of yours that I can engage, the more that there could be any emotion, happiness, sadness, even fear. Those things all are going to make this so much more permanent. And so the more that a brand can tap into all of those aspects, the more that they're going to be, part of your lasting memory.
I mean, literally on the way here, I was on a call with a brand telling me that, awareness is their big metric for this campaign, and they were talking about how many people viewed their Facebook ad.
Yeah.
And I just had to say to them, that's not awareness.
That's not awareness.
Right? You're missing all of the other sense. I literally said those words, you're missing all the other senses that it takes to create awareness, because it's a microsecond of attention that people paid, and it's just not enough.
It's just not sufficient, and it could be one part, right? That Facebook thing could be one piece tied to a bunch of other stuff, but that alone is so, and it's so misleading. And I think that a lot of the way that scale is portrayed, and the way that people talk about impact of number of impressions and all that stuff's good, but it can't stand alone.
It's not the whole story.
It's not the whole story, and it really can be misleading, because oh my gosh, 100 people, 1,000 people saw your thing live, but those are the 1,000 that might be your new evangelists, right? Those are the new, those are the group. That's the group that you've got for life. I mean, I think about, I'm such a loyal, when a brand when I get close to a brand, I've used the exact same Old Spice deodorant since I was 14.
Right.
There's certain things that are just mine for good.
Yeah. Absolutely. All right, I have to get to a lightning round before.
All right, cool.
Before we let you go. I always do. James gets mad at me because I always do this. But there's one more question before we get to that. You have I saw a quote from you saying most people are antisocial. What does that mean?
I'm so glad to add more context to that. I wonder where that showed up. Because I think that in general, humans are very social.
Yes.
We are social in our core, right? We love, community and have been based on that for time immemorial. I think that we are part of a world that is increasingly antisocial, and the illusion of being on a social network and being social, that's not full social, right? To our earlier thing, it's not using all the senses, right? It's using just a handful of them. And so it's one way to interact, and thank gosh, for it. There's so many different ways in which I keep in touch with my friends because of all the technology we have, but at the same time, those opportunities to be real and social in person are things you really have to make a point to do. And so I think that a lot of our technology is increasingly isolating, even if we are, you can be connected to 1,000 friends, but you're maybe not seeing them in person. And I really think that's a piece that we are trying to attack, is getting people back together in person, so that they can be reminded what it's like to be social and playing together again.
That's cool.
Yeah.
Okay. Tell me one decision that changed your life forever.
Oh man. Building things, making stuff, making anything. The decision to create is so life-changing. And the second that I don't care what you build something. And it is so rewarding. And when you are building, whether it is a birthday card for your grandma, making that, not buying that, a gift for a friend, an experience you want to provide your parents, the more, build something. And that is a really, to go from being consumer to creator is something I wish on anybody.
I got to tell you, I'm so glad I did not let you pass on that question, because I thought about it. I'm like, let me let him off the hook. But that's a fantastic answer.
Oh, thanks.
And I have an 8-year-old son who just recently needed his third bike. He's to the 20-inch bike, and I decided we're going to build it.
Nice.
And so we went and bought a shitty old frame.
Awesome.
And sandblasted it, and we started really from from just scratch.
Incredible.
And he loves that bike.
He probably loves that bike like he never would if you guys had gone and bought it off the shelf and, whatever. Totally. That is his thing for life, and that is a really, and even well after it has fallen apart.
Yeah.
Right?
Oh, yeah.
It'll be his, and it'll be in his brain as a thing that was, as something that he brought into this world. And that is, I built my first computer, not my first computer, I built one of my early computers. And, hey, what does that mean? Did I mine silicon? And, no, I assembled a bunch of components. Right. But even that level of,
But it's way different than putting it in your Amazon cart and having it show up tomorrow.
Exactly. And all the parts arrived, and some of them were wrong, and I had to get different ones, and all of this stuff happened. And by the time it was done, that computer was mine.
That's so cool.
And that was something.
Okay, complete this sentence. I don't have talent. I have blank.
Enthusiasm.
So if I worked here, what's something I would hear you say over and over?
The 2-bit pitch.
Okay.
I feel like sometimes anybody in this place could probably give the tour that I give.
That's good.
Yeah.
That's what you want. Who would you be most excited to learn as a fan of your work?
Oh, man. Walt Disney.
Mm-hmm. That's cool. I know you mentioned travel earlier. What's your favorite city to travel to?
Oh God. I'm obsessed with travel. I absolutely love Shanghai. Shanghai is incredible. It is old world meets new world. Every time I'm back there, there's some crazy new huge thing.
Yeah.
It's got all the old French colonial architecture in the West, and it's got all the sort of crazy new, high tech in the East, and I love Chinese food. I love Chinese culture. That city is incredible. I love Copenhagen. I've been obsessed with circus and carnival since I was little, and Tivoli Gardens, if you've been, is a wonderful.
We just went this summer for the first time. It was awesome.
It's it's a really cool place. So those two I really love a lot.
Is there a book that's had, you think, the biggest impact on you? Or maybe the most recent one.
There was a bunch that popped to mind. Paul Graham as an author is amazing. He is, he was, if you're familiar with Y Combinator, right? He started that. Before that, he did what ultimately became Yahoo Store, but is an incredible, in addition to doing those amazing things, is an incredible author. And he has a book, Hackers and Painters, that's gorgeous. But all of his essays, I recommend reading.
Oh, cool.
He's a really incredible author. So I really love Paul Graham. I finished relatively recently Servant Leadership. The Servant is just an incredible book, and that whole concept, I think particularly now as what leadership is really drawn into question of sort of what is a good leader and what is a bad leader.
Sure.
I think servant leadership is something I would love for anybody who leads anyone on the planet to read. Is a really great book. And then I mentioned earlier Night Circus, which is total fun and whimsical and gorgeous.
I got to check all those out, actually. What movie do you think you've seen the most in your life?
Oh man! So I love the movie Big Fish. I think I'm obsessed with circus and carnival. It's also a wonderful narrative around a father-son relationship that I think is really special. What else have I seen? A lot. I've really watched Blade Runner a lot. I was so excited to see the recent one. I'm crushed that it didn't do well in the box office because it's a gorgeous movie. Yeah. It's really incredible.
Still in streaming.
Maybe in the long tail, but man, it's just so good, and the set design and all the thoughtfulness. It's just incredible. So I really loved that. And for some reason, this sort of doesn't track with I think your intent of the question, but I've seen Terminator 2 so many times, but it's not that it's necessarily one of my favorite.
But we get a lot of those. Like it's not my favorite, but I keep seeing it anyway.
It was like, I think it came out at a time in life when it was like one of the early VHS tapes that I owned myself. It was like I actually owned it as opposed to somebody else's, and it was for some reason I ended up seeing that a lot.
No, none of my favorite movies are the ones I've seen the most.
You're right.
Absolutely.
Yeah, for some reason.
That's how it works.
Yeah.
Favorite band or DJ?
Oh man, I love Caravan Palace so much. Caravan Palace is, you know, if I had one wish to be able to collaborate with a band for our park, it would be Caravan Palace.
Really?
Oh yeah. Oh my God, I want to do something with them so badly. So
Okay.
I just love them a lot.
That's cool. Awesome. And so, how does everyone find out about Two-Bit Circus?
So 2bitcircus.com.
Yeah.
You know, I would say the best thing is we've got a newsletter that is where the earliest access to stuff happens.
Nice.
Our micro amusement park opens in downtown LA early next year. Newsletter will be the first to know.
Awesome.
And then, you know, we're on the Twitters, and you know, I put stuff out at Brent Bushnell, all one word, pretty regularly, and
Awesome.
and we just can't wait to bring people down and have some fun.
Killer. Thanks for doing this, man.
Yeah,
This is
Josh,
awesome.
thank you so much. This has
Lot
been
of
really fun and wonderful.
Yeah,
Really
pleasure.
appreciate it.
Right on.
Yo, that was Brent Bushnell, Rebel Radio. I hope you enjoyed it. I know I did. Make sure you watch for the launch of 2-Bit Circus when it comes next year. And make sure you stay in touch with Rebel Radio. Hit us with some comments on Twitter at Rebel Radio Net. Find us on Facebook. Check out our YouTube page. Leave us a review on iTunes. Do whatever you feel like, but make sure you come back next week for more Rebel Radio. Peace.